After my undercover boyfriend was thrown into the sea, I was locked in the ice cellar of that cargo ship. After 3 pitch-black days, I finally met Rico, the boss of that smuggling ring. Beside him sat a handsome young man. He was idly playing with a Zippo lighter in his hand before glancing up at my shivering form. The moment our eyes met, I instantly turned to stone. Ethan. It was actually him. Rico patted his shoulder and burst into laughter. So, your type? She's yours. Ethan curled his lips indifferently. She's passable, I guess. He stood up with a slouch, hands stuffed in pockets, looking down his nose. It would indeed be a shame to feed her directly to the sharks. As I followed Ethan out of that room, I still couldn't believe my eyes. I hadn't seen him in 10 years. After 3 days without food or water, I staggered along behind him until my unsteady footing made me bump into his back. Get her something to eat, he suddenly instructed the person beside him. Brother Long, should we still feed him? Isn't this just for fun? The bald-headed man hesitated beside him. Who could get in the mood looking at this starving ghost? He cast a sidelong glance. The icy tone instantly transported everyone back to that freezing cellar. The bald man hurriedly agreed while opening the door, shoving me roughly into the room. Stumbling, I fell to the ground. The door clicked shut behind me, leaving the room deathly quiet. A pair of leather shoes appeared before me. I looked up to see Ethan standing over me, gazing down at my sprawled form. It felt like he was looking at an ant that could be crushed at any moment. Ethan. He casually pulled out a lighter and cigarette, asking indifferently, what did you say? I'm sorry. I was about to say I'd mistaken him for someone else when he abruptly lifted my chin. His fingers pressed hard, the pain making me wince. Please. Getting yourself into such a state, he drawled, his eyes full of mockery. Stella's taste in men is still this terrible. I stared at him, dumbfounded. You. A knock sounded at the door. Releasing my chin, he went to answer it. The bald man brought in a baked potato and a bottle of water, set them down, and left. Eat, he said, tossing the potato over before turning to light his cigarette. Ethan. I clutched the potato, shivering as I inched forward. It's really you. What? He smirked, curling his lip. Thought I'd died long ago? No. Then what is it? He blew a smoke ring. But you're right, Ethan White did die long ago. He slightly lowered his head and said to me, people here all call me Brother Long. 4. I stared at him dumbfounded, and he tilted his chin up, signaling me to eat. Do you know what your boyfriend does for a living? He asked me after we ate. He's an employee of an international trading company. He flicked the ash from his cigarette, as if hearing something laughable. Stella has learned to lie nowadays. My head jerked up. I didn't. He was an FBI undercover agent, hiding here for 6 months just to find evidence of our smuggling operations, so the FBI could take us all down in one sweep. He leisurely blew a smoke ring. What a clever little scheme you've cooked up. To be honest, he disguised himself quite well, a competent undercover agent by all accounts. Pity he slipped up just enough around me. I silently watched him, my entire body shivering uncontrollably. Suddenly he pulled out a gun and pressed it against my forehead. You're his girlfriend. Don't pretend you don't know. 5. I really, truly don't know. Ethan. My hands and feet went ice cold as I trembled, reaching out to clutch at the hem of his coat. Could you, for old time's sake, let me go? I genuinely know nothing. He laughed. Stella really is naive. This ship's already in international waters. Let you go? How exactly? By throwing you overboard? He exhaled smoke and kept the gun trained on me. Stella Miller, once you're on this ship, nobody gets to leave. Why? My tears kept falling. Why would you do such a thing? You clearly, it shouldn't have turned out like this. After a long silence, he laughed again. Isn't the reason obvious? He said. Whoever saves my life owns it. 6. That day, Ethan didn't touch me, nor did he kill me. Because right after he said those words, I came down with a fever and fainted. The 3 days in the ice cellar left me utterly exhausted. In my dazed state, I seemed to feel someone carrying me to bathe and change me into fresh, dry clothes. I had a dream of those youthful years with Ethan. I dreamed of a fair-skinned boy standing at my doorstep, backpack slung over his shoulder, calling me to walk to school together. I dreamed of him suddenly falling ill in my home, my mother and I frantically rushing him to the hospital. I dreamed of going to an amusement park with him, our parents, my folks and his mother Sarah watching us with affectionate smiles. Sarah joked that we might as well get married someday, making Ethan blush furiously. Later, the dream took a turn, and those cheerful laughs vanished, replaced by endless curses and beatings, because Ethan's father had returned from prison. From that day on, their once quiet home began to erupt frequently with violent shouts and blows. The woman's cries mixed with the man's vile curses, shattering the silence of that small building's nights. At first, neighbors, including my mother, would go over to intervene. But after Ethan's dad came out with a shotgun a few times, no one dared to approach anymore. It was during that time I first heard the neighborhood gossip and learned that Sarah had been working at a restaurant during the day and in a club at night throughout those years. With just the money from the restaurant, There's no way she could afford that child's medical bills. The neighbor ladies would sigh while shaking their heads. Later, there was blood everywhere. Sarah lay in a pool of it, while Ethan's father had vanished without a trace. That day, Ethan and I had planned to visit the sunflower fields after school, but our parents urgently called us home instead. Sirens, shouts, and cries blended into chaotic cacophony. Only Ethan quietly stepped over the police tape and picked up Sarah. I heard him calling for his mother repeatedly. Later, Ethan disappeared too. 7. Startled awake, I found myself lying in bed. The clothes had been changed, fresh sheets too. Dreams flickered between illusion and reality, my head still muddled. I pinched my palm and stared at the ceiling for what felt like ages before finally regaining clarity. A box of medicine sat by the bedside, labeled entirely in English. From what I could tell, it seemed to be fever reducers. Click. The door opened, but it wasn't Ethan. A woman with voluminous curls walked in, carrying a steaming bowl of soup. Well, it really is a miracle drug. You're awake already? She approached, set down the soup, and eyed me with keen interest. Lucky you. Word is Brother Long is quite pleased with you, so you won't be shark food just yet. But, she looked me up and down and burst out laughing. So this is his type? An innocent schoolgirl? No wonder Rico sent him a few hotties before, and he turned them all down. Rico even thought he was impotent. You are. She tossed her head. I'm Rico's woman. Everyone calls me Lily. There aren't many women on board. You can come to me if you need anything, she said to me before leaving. But here's a piece of advice. Don't think about avenging your boyfriend or anything like that. Stay with Brother Long, and you might live a little longer. I paused for a moment, then nodded. The door closed. I threw off the covers and got out of bed. Truth be told, I don't know if that timely fever actually saved my life, because every suspicion Ethan had about me that day was true. The so-called boyfriend of mine is actually my colleague, and I'm an undercover agent too. We've been infiltrating this smuggling ring for quite some time, just to gather evidence and take them down in one fell swoop. The two of us posed as a couple to make his identity less suspicious. My colleague was very experienced and incredibly quick on his feet. Everything had been going smoothly, but at the last moment, Rico caught him. They drugged us and brought us onto this ship, then threw my colleague into the sea right before my eyes before locking me in an ice cellar. My colleague perished, and I thought I was doomed as well. Yet unexpectedly, I ran into Ethan here, and his identity, Dragon, as we had investigated earlier, was the mastermind of this group and Rico's most trusted right-hand man. 9. For the next few days, I saw Ethan, although he wouldn't let me call him Ethan anymore and insisted I address him as Dragon like everyone else. I knew he still harbored some sentimental feelings for me. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let me, a mole's girlfriend, stay alive. Meanwhile, I must fight to survive on this ship until the day we return to America. Ethan was my only lifeline. I began desperately reminiscing about our past, deliberately trying to please him. Yet he remained unmoved, until one day, I borrowed the kitchen from Lily and made him a plate of roasted potatoes. This was his favorite dish when he used to come to my place. As I served it to him, I deliberately let him see the blisters on the back of my hand from the hot oil burns. His gaze lingered on the back of my hand for 3 seconds, yet contrary to my expectations, he didn't show even a flicker of concern. Instead, he looked at me with undisguised mockery. Stella, he leaned back, so eager to please me. Are you? Deliberately burning yourself, huh? Trying to make me feel sorry for you? What were you thinking? He laughed. Using our past relationship to butter me up, lower my guard. And then what? Getting revenge for your boyfriend? Calling the cops to arrest us? Sure enough, he was too sharp. I shook my head. I just want to survive. I looked up, meeting his gaze. Ethan, I tried to win you over just to survive. He probably didn't expect me to be so frank. After a few seconds of silence, he pointed at that dish. Just this level won't do. He narrowed his eyes. This is far worse than what Sarah makes. Then, I bit my lip. What do you want me to do? How did you treat your ex-boyfriend? He suddenly laughed. Do I really have to teach you? The air was still as time ticked by. I stood up and walked over to him. Our breaths mingled for a brief moment before I lowered my head and kissed the Adam's apple on his neck. His whole body froze. Then abruptly, he grabbed my chin. You're quite skilled at teasing men. Did he teach you that? No, I didn't. Before I could finish speaking, the pungent smell of smoke overwhelmed my throat. I wanted to cough, but he firmly pressed his hand against my head. After what felt like an eternity, he finally released me. I gasped for air, breathing heavily. Stella, he lifted my chin, his eyes devoid of any warmth. Aren't you full of tricks? That day, when I took the initiative to make amends, Ethan genuinely seemed angry. But from that day onward, he moved into this room. I behaved very obediently, very compliant. When he kissed me, I responded. When he held me, I let him without resistance. One night, Ethan still hadn't returned to the room very late, and after some thought, I went to the deck to look for him. I saw him with Rico, leaning against the railing and smoking. That girl, you're not really falling for her, are you? Can't bear to let her go? She's quite good at pleasing people. With the ship being so dull, I might as well keep her around for now. Bro, Rico patted his shoulder, you should still be careful. After all, she's the cop's woman. I know, he said. Women can be terrifying sometimes. Ethan smiled, his voice mingling with the sea breeze so that I couldn't hear him clearly. What he seemed to say was, yeah, it's terrifying. 11. The two of them smoked for a while longer before Rico left. I hesitated about whether to approach when I heard Ethan's voice. Come here. I didn't move. How much longer did you plan to eavesdrop? Resigned, I stepped out, clutching my dress that was tousled by the wind. I wasn't trying to listen intentionally. I just noticed you hadn't come back for a while. He turned around, leaning against the railing, his dark eyes fixed on me. Come here, he said again. I walked over, and he abruptly pulled me into his arms. His cigarette-holding hand gestured toward the opposite deck. That's where he was pushed over, he said. I looked. Where? Who? My father. My heart skipped a beat. I turned to look at him, but his expression remained calm, casually exhaling a smoke ring. I searched for him everywhere back then, couldn't find him anywhere. Later I learned he'd come to Rico with a prison buddy. I hadn't taken my meds for a long time back then, was barely hanging on to life. But if I didn't send him to hell, I'd never rest in peace. So I joined him too. At first he was thrilled, thought I was continuing the family legacy. What a joke. He laughed until it turned into coughs. Every kindness I showed him was an act. I came to kill him, and he never even realized. Step by step, I took his place. They grew to need me instead of him. I'll never forget the look in his eyes at the end. He flicked the cigarette butt into the ocean and wiped the tears off my face with his hand. Why are you crying? Do I scare you? Or do you pity me? I shook my head tearfully and buried my face in the crook of his neck. What can we do? He chuckled softly. Being afraid won't help. You're already in my hands. You can't escape now. Stella Miller. He pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead. Stay here with me forever. 12. Perhaps because I cried so intensely, Ethan gradually lowered his guard against me after that night. Not long after, one evening he took me to the lounge to watch them play cards. Leaning against his shoulder, I grew drowsy. Sleepy? I nodded and muttered, too much cigarette smoke. Spoiled brat, he chuckled. Though he said that, he still handed me an electronic key and pointed toward the door. Go on, open it and get some fresh air on the deck. I nodded again and lazily shuffled to the door, swaying slightly as I walked. After stepping outside and walking about 20 feet, I came to a halt. When they play cards, everyone gathers in that room. It's when the ship is least guarded. Over these past few days, I've gradually uncovered that their information on several hideouts is stored on a USB drive, locked inside a safe. And that safe is in the forward control room. I glanced back, then hurried to the control room, using Ethan's key to open the door. After quickly scanning the room's layout, I quietly opened the door and retreated. But I had barely taken a step when the cold barrel of a pistol pressed against my temple. Stella. Ethan's icy voice sounded beside me. My body froze. What are you doing? My fingernails dug into my right palm as cold sweat trickled down my spine. I gently lifted the bag and keys in my left hand. I noticed you coughing, and remembered you mentioned this room has your usual medicine, so I thought I'd grab some to keep on hand. A silence fell. The gun in his hand didn't lower as he slowly walked toward me. Our eyes met. His were unfathomably dark. Stella, do you know what quality matters most for an accomplished undercover agent? He suddenly asked. I stared steadily at him. It's about securing an escape route and excuse for yourself before danger strikes. Did you know? He shook his head gently. At times like this, I'd rather see you so scared you panic, saying you were just curious, wandering around casually, so you unlocked the door with a key, instead of acting like a seasoned undercover agent as you are now. My heart sank instantly. Huh? What's going on here? A woman's voice not far away broke the stalemate between Ethan and me, as Lily approached in high heels, supporting the slightly tipsy Rico. She tilted her head, glanced at Ethan, then looked at me. Didn't you say you were going to get medicine for long? Why are you two waving guns around? Ethan's gun hand twitched almost imperceptibly. What medicine? He asked in a low voice. Huh? Lily shrugged. Just your usual prescription. She asked me when she came out earlier if the medicine was in this room. The pistol slowly lowered. Rico, slightly drunk, dragged Lily away while mumbling, leaving only Ethan and me alone in the hallway again. His expression was inscrutable. After a moment, he reached out his hand towards me. Come here. My eyes brimmed with tears, but I remained rooted to the spot. He sighed, took a step forward, then suddenly scooped me up in his arms and carried me towards our room. Once inside, he tossed me onto the bed. Turning his back to me, he pulled out another cigarette. Don't smoke, I said softly. You know exactly what condition your own body is in. His hand holding the cigarette paused for a moment, but he still lit it and took a deep drag. From now on, you're not allowed to leave this room without my permission." With that, he turned to leave. "Ethan," I called after him, the corners of my eyes genuinely stinging. His hand paused on the doorknob. "Can't you just accept that I genuinely want to be good to you?" He stood with his back to me, not turning around. "I know myself," he said after a long silence. "Don't have that right." 14. Ethan went out. As the door closed, I shut my eyes briefly. Indeed, every guess he made, every word he said, every suspicion he had, none of them were wrong. An experienced undercover agent always prepares an exit strategy and excuses for their actions in advance, but a truly exceptional undercover operative never settles for just one backup plan. When I happened to run into Lily in the hallway earlier, it wasn't coincidental. It was carefully orchestrated. My purpose was to publicly justify and rationalize my presence in that particular room. It plays on ordinary people's normal psychology. If I were truly spying on some classified information, I couldn't possibly tell others about it so openly and casually. But Ethan, after all, is no ordinary person. He's too clever. Like back in school days, when he frequently missed classes due to health reasons, yet still maintained his position as the top student campus-wide, his scores leaving the runners-up far behind. He could effortlessly solve problems that others scratched their heads over, casually winning first prize in national physics competitions. If it weren't for that incident, I believe he would have undoubtedly received a full scholarship to MIT and become the astrophysicist he had always dreamed of being. But there are no what-ifs. The Ethan now, still brilliant as ever, has ultimately ended up standing on the opposite side from me. 15. After that, true to form, Ethan didn't let me leave the room even once. Every time he left the room, he would lock the door from the outside. At night, he would take out a silver handcuff, shackle one of my hands to the bed, and then hold me as we fell asleep. I know that he's acting this way because he's afraid I might do something while he's asleep. After all, he still doesn't trust me. Lily occasionally comes to visit me. Since I can't go out, she says she's bored with no one to talk to. Since it's all just a misunderstanding, why not apologize to Brother Long? If you ask me, Brother Long has been pretty good to you. After all, your background isn't exactly clean, with your ex-boyfriend being, well, that guy. It's only natural he'd be a bit wary. What about you? I asked her. How do you and Rico get along? Normally so bold and unreserved, she actually blushed faintly then. Rico? Oh, Rico treats me really well. I'm quite content with him. She said she originally majored in chemistry in college, but when job hunting after graduation, she was tricked into going to the Caribbean. Her parents back home had always only cared about her two younger brothers and wanted her to earn money abroad to pay for their college tuition. Only when she arrived did she realize it was telecom fraud. This was one of the side businesses of this smuggling syndicate, overseas telecom scams. If it hadn't been for Rico coming to our place for a meeting once and talking about making bombs, and me chiming in with a couple of comments, I'd probably still be making calls there every day, she sighed, playing with her red nail polish. A bomb? Yeah, she said half-jokingly. Don't believe me? I really can make bombs. Staying by his side, I earned that with real skills. So, have you seen them feed people to the sharks? She shrugged. Yeah, I have. Weren't you scared? The first time, a little. After that, not really. Honestly, you'd get used to it too if you saw it often. She paused, thinking, but you might not get the chance. Why? Because Brother Long never gets involved in that stuff. Well, except for his dad's time. She lowered her voice. To be honest, I was there when Brother Long's dad got tossed into the sea. Seeing how calm he was about it scared me more than anything, but who could have guessed he stopped coming later on? Rico didn't mind though, saying everyone has their specialization. Long G's main contribution was here, she said with a laugh, pointing at her forehead. Besides, wasn't his health not great either? Probably couldn't stand the sight of blood. It's not that he couldn't stand blood, I murmured. What? Lily tilted her head. Nothing, I smiled faintly and shook my head. 16. A few days later, Ethan told me the ship was about to dock. It was a clear night. He held me as we stood on the balcony of the room, smoothing my wind-tousled hair. After we dock, where are we going? To a small island in the Caribbean. I have a villa there. His voice was soft and gentle, as if coaxing a child. In the future, let's make that our home, okay, he murmured, kissing my hair. It's all our people there, very safe. We can have many children there, and our family will live there forever, all right? I don't want children. I turned my head away. Why? If we had a child, would you stop? I countered. He fell silent momentarily, saying nothing. I raised my head and gazed calmly at him. Have you ever thought, what if you get caught someday? What if the child ends up with poor health like you? At that time, what should I do alone with the child? The sea breeze continued to blow aimlessly. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I won't. I love you, Stella Miller, I love you. He repeated over and over, kissing my forehead and cheeks incessantly between words. I won't leave you behind. But I don't feel like your lover. I raised my head to meet his gaze. Ethan, I'm more like your prisoner. And I don't want my child to become a prisoner too. He shook his head. Ethan, since you can't completely trust me, just let me go, okay? I pleaded with him. You wouldn't have to worry about me being an undercover agent anymore, and I could return to a normal life. Wouldn't that be better? I clutched his collar, crying openly. Wouldn't that be better, Ethan? After a long pause, he embraced me tightly once again. No, he murmured softly. I told you, didn't I? Once you come, you can't leave. If you hadn't come, I wouldn't have gone looking for you. But since you barged in, I'll never let you go. But I don't want to become Sarah. I lifted my head, my voice nearly breaking. I don't want to become her. He froze for a moment, only to embrace me even tighter the next second. You wouldn't. I won't let you become like her. But how should I explain to our child later? I lifted my tear-filled eyes, pounding on his chest desperately. When our child asks what their father does for a living, what should I say? When they ask why daddy handcuffs mommy every night, what should I say? Huh? Ethan, tell me, what should I say? Finally, I caught a fleeting glimpse of regret and pain in his eyes. He held me close, burying his face in the crook of my neck, calling my name in a muffled voice. I believe in you, he said. If you don't want it, we won't have a child. Maybe it's for the best. His voice was barely audible. Children are just burdens to their parents anyway. I closed my eyes for a long moment before finally reaching out to return his embrace. That night, he buried his face in the crook of my neck for a long time, leaving a small patch of dampness on my skin. At 17, I regained my freedom. A few days later, we disembarked and arrived at this small Caribbean island. After that night, Ethan no longer hid his actions from me, and I finally learned some of the inner workings of this criminal organization. The USB drive on the ship was only half the key, the other half remained on American soil. The organization had a strict hierarchy and secrecy protocol. Ethan held a third-tier rank, just below Rico and the mysterious boss behind the scenes. As for the local encryption key, only Rico and the mysterious boss knew its location. Ethan had never even seen the mysterious boss's face. Learning from last time's lesson, I wasn't in a hurry this time. I simply observed quietly, waiting for the right moment to return to the US. Ethan and I lived in a villa on the island. The bedroom had a large floor-to-ceiling window facing the sea. When he went out on business, I'd stay home. Each day, I'd prepare various dishes for him in different styles, and he'd eat them, sometimes with a smile, sometimes with a grimace. In the dead of night, we lay facing the sea, holding each other as we slept. Life was so tranquil that there were moments when even I began to lose myself in the illusion that we truly were just an ordinary newlywed couple. But in the end, we were not. That night, Ethan got drunk and wouldn't leave me alone. Lost in passion, he leaned close to my ear, murmuring words that might have been meant for me or perhaps just spoken to himself. Stella, I want to die by your hand. I thought he was just talking nonsense and was about to swat him away when he spoke again. To die by your hand would be better than to die by theirs. I never understood what Ethan meant by those words that night, until one day when he left in the afternoon and still hadn't returned by 9 in the evening. I picked up the encrypted phone he'd given me, the one meant only for me, and called him. The phone was answered almost immediately. Where are you? Why aren't you back yet? It's all right, don't worry. He let out a long sigh. I still have some things to take care of. I might not come back tonight. Then I'll wait for you. Lock the door and go to sleep first. Be good. I wanted to say more, but he had already hung up. After hanging up, I carefully considered Ethan's voice and the background noise from the call. Something was wrong, very wrong. Ethan's voice was clearly different from normal. If I wasn't mistaken, he'd most likely been drugged with something. And judging by how deliberately he'd lowered his voice earlier, he was probably hiding from someone. The chaotic background noise through the receiver was the sound of a train, and at this hour, that could only be coming from the old train station not far from the Villa district. I threw on my clothes and rushed out the door after hanging up the phone. Before leaving, I grabbed the white gloves Ethan had left in the foyer. 19/ I found Ethan in the ruins behind the train station. His right arm was bleeding badly, surrounded by 4 men. I recognized the guy pointing a gun at him, a Southeast Asian named Marco, roughly a 4th-tier figure in this organization. His role within the organization somewhat resembled Ethan's. Both were the brains of the operation. Sorry, Dragon, my man didn't want to play dirty either, but if you don't die, I'll never move up. Marco crouched down, patting Ethan's face. Figure you ought to understand. After all, you took out your old man to get where you are, right? Same shit, different pile. We get each other, huh? A flash of lightning struck my mind, and I dashed forward in an instant. Big Brother Long. I threw myself onto Ethan, my voice choked with sobs. What are you doing to Big Brother Long? Yo. Marco froze for a second before laughing with his underlings. This guy's pretty interesting. What, is this chick lovesick? Even better if you come along, you can keep Brother Long company underground. Won't let him feel lonely while enjoying himself with a beauty. The group burst into raucous laughter. Ethan turned to look at me, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Still sobbing dramatically, I quietly reached for the blood-stained gun in his right hand. How many bullets left? I whispered in his ear. His pupils instantly dilated. 5, he mouthed. 5 rounds, 4 targets. Enough. All right, little lady, Marco drawled as he stepped forward lazily, raising his gun. Save your words for the afterlife. Before he could finish afterlife, I'd already raised my pistol smoothly and pulled the trigger in one fluid motion. Bang, 1 shot. Bang, turn around, 2 shots. Bang, sidestep, 3 rounds. Bang, duck down, 4 rounds. All 4 shots struck squarely between the brows. The men froze in place, their faces a mask of disbelief before they crumpled to the ground. When I turned back, Ethan had passed out from excessive blood loss. 20. Ethan woke up in the villa's bedroom the next day. Fortunately, despite significant blood loss, the wound wasn't fatal, just requiring proper anti-inflammatory treatment and rest. Shortly after he woke, Rico brought Lily to see him, their casual conversation suggesting this was just another routine power struggle. Survival of the fittest had always been their enduring creed. Your marksmanship has gotten really impressive lately, Rico laughed, patting him on the shoulder. It's rare to maintain perfect accuracy even when drugged like that. My hands turned ice cold in an instant. I looked up at Ethan and saw him give a helpless little smile. When your life's on the line like that, missing means death. Absolutely, absolutely, you're truly full of unlimited potential, Rico guffawed, giving him a thumbs up. After all the visiting guests had left, I sat by the bed peeling an apple for him. Neither of us spoke, until Ethan raised his gun and pressed it against my forehead once again. I froze for a moment, then set aside the apple and looked up at him. He met my gaze. Tell me, he murmured, how should I convince myself this time that you're not an undercover agent? He smiled, but his eyes were filled with self-mockery and sorrow. Just how exceptional must a female undercover agent be to both protect me and take down 4 seasoned gunmen with perfect accuracy in that critical moment? I silently watched him. That's right. Everything you've guessed, everything you've suspected, it's all true. I took a deep breath. I was indeed an undercover agent. Suddenly, he burst into laughter. His laughter continued until his eyes turned red. So, were all those things before just lies to deceive me? Stella, from the very beginning, pretended to care about me, used me, and then wanted to destroy me. Isn't that right? All those sweet words you said to me were just lies, weren't they? Since that's the case, why did you come to save me? His voice rose, his entire body radiating anger. Were you afraid your long-planned scheme would fail if I died? Or were you afraid there would be no one left to protect you if I died? Neither. Then what is it? Because you're Ethan. He froze. Through misty eyes, I fought to steady my voice as I spoke each word deliberately. Because to me, you'll always be Ethan, not Brother Long. He stared at me blankly, the hand holding the gun trembling slightly. Because I'm an undercover agent, but I'm also Stella Miller, who grew up with you. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face. Do it. Kill me if you want, stop hesitating. But if given another chance, I'd still choose to save you. Silence lingered for a long moment. I told you before, Ethan said softly after what felt like an eternity. Whoever saves my life, owns my loyalty. I nodded. I understood. Back then, burdened with hatred and without money for medicine, it was only by working for this organization that he managed to buy the meds and save his life. My hand was abruptly grabbed, and an icy pistol was suddenly shoved into it. I opened my eyes and looked at him, bewildered. So, this time, you saved my life. With his uninjured hand, he reached up and tousled my hair. From now on, my life is yours. I stared blankly at him. He leaned back slightly, lowered his eyes and said softly, we'll be returning to the United States soon. When that time comes, I'll take you with me and arrange everything properly to send you home. Though I hope after you return, you won't continue doing this dangerous work anymore. But if we meet again, he paused, seeming to force a bitter smile, we'd probably be irreconcilable enemies. He reached out, drew my head closer, and rested his forehead against mine with a sigh. Next time you see me, you must shoot with the same unerring accuracy as this time. Don't hold back, understand? This life was saved by you. If it ends by your hand, there's nothing to regret. I paused for a moment, then pushed him away, unloading the gun's magazine and tossing it aside. You, Ethan, I saved you not to kill you in the future, and I won't go home alone either. He froze. I grasped his ice-cold hands, staring into his slightly reddened eyes. If we're going back, we'll go back together. Home? After a long pause, he murmured. Yes, home. He shook his head with a bitter smile. Stella, I can't go back anymore. We can never go back. Alone, perhaps you can't, I clenched his hand tightly. But I'll take you back. Don't you remember? When we were kids, whether you got lost or hid away, I always found you and brought you home. Ethan stared at me intently. But I'd been in the darkness too long, stained with too many sins that can't be washed clean. No, I shook my head. Believe me, as long as you're willing to turn back, it's never too late. After a long pause, he spoke, his voice trembling slightly. Really? Can we still go back? I nodded, threw myself into his arms, and hugged him tightly. We can go back. Ethan, just as you said you'd never let go of me, I'll never leave you alone in the darkness either. This time, I'm taking you home. 22. About a week later, we boarded that ship again. All communication devices within the organization were installed with surveillance software. As we neared America, I used Ethan's phone to call Captain Davis at the police station, saying I was bringing my boyfriend back to meet Dad. We planned to give the USB drive from the ship to the police for copying and analysis after returning home, then seek an opportunity to obtain the information from the other USB drive. On the night before arriving in America, Ethan and I stood on the balcony of our room, watching the stars, the moon, and the ocean. The death of your former colleague is largely my responsibility. Though it doesn't lessen my guilt, I still hope to have a chance to pay my respects at his grave and confess my remorse before him. His eyes were filled with pain and regret. I remained silent for a moment. He was a good man, always believing that human nature is fundamentally good, that light can ultimately triumph over darkness. I used to tease him for being too idealistic. But now I think, if he knew you were willing to turn from darkness to the light, to take up his mantle and risk your life to bring down this organization, he would probably feel somewhat comforted. If only this could bring some solace to his departed soul, he sighed. I patted him on the back. After a long silence, he spoke again. After my mother was killed, all I had left was a single photo of her, and like a madman, I searched the world for my father. Later, I finally succeeded in taking revenge. My father died, and I sank my mother's photo into the sea, hoping it could bring peace to her spirit in heaven. But as my position in the organization rose higher, I began to fear looking at the sea at midnight. I'm afraid my mother would be disappointed if she knew what I'd become, that she wouldn't want to acknowledge me anymore, that she'd scold me harshly. I don't even dare to die now, because I'm too afraid to face her. Sarah wouldn't. That woman remained forever gentle in my memory. Ethan shook his head. When she named me Ethan back then, she hoped I could live under the sunlight, upright and honorable, not following my father's path. Yet in the end, I still ended up walking the same road as him. Ethan, I turned back, cupping his face in my hands, word by word. You're nothing like him, never have been. I don't know if Sarah would approve of what Ethan has done to avenge her, but I do know this: Ethan was never beyond redemption. He possesses feelings and a conscience. That's precisely why he's been struggling so desperately in the darkness, unable to find release. The sea breeze gently brushed past as he embraced me. You know what? Back then, I actually couldn't bear to look at the sky either, he said, lifting his gaze. Why? Because whenever I saw the stars and moon in the sky, I would think of you. I placed both hands over the back of his, leaning into his embrace. So I came looking for you. Perhaps this truly was fate. Even after 10 years apart, I still found him. The stars and the moon, after all, still found the sun. I looked up at the sky. Ethan, I will wait for you to atone through meritorious service, for your parole, for you to retake college entrance exams, for you to realize your dream of becoming an astrophysicist, for the day you stand in the light again, doing more and more good for society. He nodded, chuckling softly. You still remember that I wanted to be an astrophysicist? Of course, I said. But do you know why I wanted to become an astrophysicist? Why? He lowered his head and whispered in my ear. Because the shining stars and moon are so beautiful. 23. After returning to China, Ethan and I proceeded with our plan as scheduled. He became an informant for the police. We secretly copied the USB drive from the ship and returned it. Given Ethan's rank within the organization, this didn't raise any suspicions. We designed a trap based on the limited information from the USB drive, deliberately allowing a flaw to appear in the planned cleanup operation. Ethan flawlessly intercepted this police raid, enabling a major smuggling operation to relocate in time and avoid being completely wiped out. After this incident, his status within the organization rose further, and the mysterious boss behind the scenes decided to meet him in person as a reward. Meanwhile, we were also preparing for the next phase of our operation. This was a simultaneous raid operation across multiple locations. After Ethan met the mysterious boss and uncovered the addresses of several key hideouts, he would collaborate with the police from inside and outside to capture the organization's mastermind Enrico on the spot. Due to my undercover identity, I wouldn't participate directly in the final operation. Instead, I would remain at the police station to provide support from behind the scenes. After meeting the mysterious boss, Ethan's intelligence quickly earned the boss's admiration, securing a trove of valuable intelligence, including details about the local USB drive. The final operation was scheduled for this Friday. Ethan and Rico would go to the hotel together to meet the boss, while the police would arrange disguised SWAT teams to lie in wait around the hotel. At the same time, once the hotel raid is successful, the undercover officers will immediately sweep through several key hideouts in one fell swoop. I sat in the station, my heart pounding with uncertainty, even more anxious and tense than when I was working undercover. After all, I'd seen firsthand how ruthless that organization could be. I was worried for Ethan, yes, but also for every colleague involved in the operation. Every passing second was torture. Then, finally, at 3 in the afternoon, Captain Davis's call came. A colleague turned on the speakerphone. Everyone, the operation was a success. The room fell silent for a moment, then erupted in cheers. After all, everybody had sacrificed far too much for this day. Rico was killed in a shootout with police officers, while the mastermind behind it all was arrested on the spot with irrefutable evidence of his crimes. The colleague handling the communication continued coordinating details with Captain Davis, while I clutched my chest, gasping for breath. The operation was a success. That's really great. Miller, the colleague suddenly called out to me. Captain Davis wants to talk to you. I hurried over and put on the headset. 20 kilometers left. Through the headset came that familiar voice. Stella Miller, just 20 more kilometers, and I'll be by your side. Tears instantly welled up in my eyes. MHM, I nodded, my voice thick, not from sadness but from overwhelming joy. I'll wait for you. Just now, I passed by that park near our old school. Do you remember that day? We were supposed to go see the sunflowers in the fields. Yes, I do. I reached up to wipe the tears spilling from the corners of my eyes. After that, I never saw sunflowers again, and I've forgotten what they look like. After I get out, come see them with me. Okay? Okay. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I repeated, okay, pinky promise. We'll definitely go. What are you crying for? He laughed on the other end of the phone. I'll work hard, maybe earn another commutation for good behavior. Then you won't have to wait so long. Deal? After hanging up the phone, my tears still wouldn't stop flowing. Because I knew, my childhood sweetheart, my Ethan, he had come back, whole and complete. 20 kilometers, given the current road conditions. It would only take a 40-minute drive. While waiting, I went to the nearby bookstore and picked out a book on astrophysics. I wanted to give it to Ethan as the first gift upon his return. But who could have guessed that when I returned to the bureau from the bookstore, the earlier calm had vanished, replaced by complete chaos. What happened? There's trouble. A woman with a car full of homemade bombs is headed to blow up the downtown park. What? Captain Davis is the closest and has already taken his men there directly. A female officer dashed in. We've identified the suspect, Lily Johnson, 27, believed to be Rico's mistress within the organization. I hastily took it and was shocked at the sight of the photo. We all overlooked one person in this operation, Lily. At this very moment, a tremendous explosion suddenly erupted in the distance. In the smoke-filled sky, a sudden sweetness welled up in my throat. Everything went black before my eyes as I lost consciousness on the spot. When I came to again, I found myself in the hospital. Captain Davis and several officers stood solemnly around my hospital bed, their expressions grave. Captain, I quickly sat up, stammering, the explosion. Don't worry, the suspect behind the explosion has been arrested. There were no civilian casualties at the scene. That's good. I glanced around. Where's Ethan? Is he at the station? The group exchanged glances but didn't answer. I smiled bitterly and muttered to myself, honestly, how have I become so useless now? Fainting just from the sound of an explosion. I was supposed to be the first to welcome you all back. And I even bought that book for Ethan. Did he get scared when he heard I fainted? Did he see the book I bought him? Miller. Captain Davis sat down, interrupting me. There's something I need to tell you, he said quietly. What's wrong, Captain? Why so serious? The mission was a success, wasn't it? No casualties from the explosion either. Ethan sacrificed himself. I froze in place. What? The situation was too critical at that moment. Although we subdued the suspect, she had already activated the bomb countdown. The countdown is only 5 minutes. There's a children's event happening at the downtown park nearby with thousands of people. Impossible to evacuate everyone in 5 minutes. And she's driving that modified car from Rico's stash. One wrong button pressed could detonate the explosives. Only Ethan was familiar with that car. He stepped forward on his own and said he would drive it away. He was truly sharp, quickly assessing the explosive's power and the nearest safe distance for detonation. He drove to an isolated coastal cliff with an abandoned bridge, but just as he was about to make his escape, a group of touring elementary students suddenly appeared nearby. He stayed to save that group of schoolchildren, refusing to leave in the final moments. With 10 seconds remaining, he floored the accelerator and drove the car off the collapsed bridge into the sea. The vehicle exploded mid-air above the water, but every single child was rescued without a single casualty. He saved thousands with his own life. Ethan died at 26, leaving nothing behind for me. His life came to a halt forever, just 20 kilometers away. The explosion was so complete that not even his ashes remained. After being discharged from the hospital, I took a long vacation. My parents had settled down in a livable city in the south after retiring and had long wanted me to stay with them during my time off. While packing, I realized I didn't have a single photo of Ethan. I called my mom and asked if she still had any childhood photos of me and Ethan. Have you forgotten? After that incident with Sarah, didn't we move? That moving company we hired was unreliable. They lost a big box full of photos and albums. Just thinking about it now makes me angry. Back then, I didn't save digital copies, and all the photos before we moved were lost. Now I can't even find any pictures of you as a child. After hanging up the phone, I stared blankly out the window. He had left such vivid marks in my life, yet now he had vanished without a trace. Apart from that unsent copy of Astrophysics, it seemed there was nothing left to prove he had ever existed. The following spring, I went to visit Lily in prison. She looked disheveled, long having lost her former radiance. On the other end of the receiver, she still laughed without a trace of remorse. Stella Miller, you killed my man, so I killed yours. Now we're even, she snarled. I'll never understand how you brainwashed Brother Long into betraying us. Stella Miller, we should have fed you to the sharks that day. That wasn't Brother Long, his name was Ethan, I said quietly. What's the difference? He's still part of the organization, just like us. How is he any different? She shrugged. He's not like you, I said into the receiver, staring straight into Lily's eyes through the glass. You would doom thousands just to settle a personal grudge, but he would choose to sacrifice himself to save thousands of lives. That's what sets you apart, she scoffed. I don't get it, betraying the organization, sacrificing yourself to save others? What's so great about that? You don't understand because you've never known what it's like to yearn for light in the darkness. She froze in place. Visit hours were over, so I hung up the phone and walked away. Lily was still frantically pounding on the glass and yelling something behind me. I couldn't hear her, nor did I want to listen anymore. I think I won't be coming back here again either. In the afternoon, I went to the seaside. The site of the explosion from back then, the broken bridge had been dismantled, replaced by a small park with vast fields of sunflowers. Not far away, a small stage was set up, seemingly hosting some kind of children's outdoor speech event. A little boy rushed past me in a hurry, and the letter paper in his hand fell right beside my feet. I picked it up and saw it was a speech script, titled My Dream. 27, it's okay, I smiled, handing the script back to the little boy and ruffling his hair. What's your dream? My dream is to become a scientist. I chuckled and said, that's amazing, keep it up. Leo, why are you so slow? A little girl stood not far away with her hands on her hips. Wait up, this auntie just asked me what my dream is. The little boy yelled back. The little girl ran over cheerfully. His dream isn't fun, auntie. Guess what mine is? What is it? The girl whispered mysteriously. I want to be a police officer. I was taken aback. With your tiny stature, can you even catch bad guys? The little boy pouted beside me. What's wrong with being small? Every time you got beaten up, didn't I fight back for you? The little girl shot him a disdainful look. When I become a police officer, won't I be able to protect you better? The organizers were calling roll, so the two quickly said goodbye to me and ran off, roughhousing all the way. Seeing that group of children in the distance, I suddenly realized Ethan hadn't left me with nothing after all. He left behind hope. My childhood friend Ethan White, born in 1995, died in 2022, was an excellent student, very bright, and had always dreamed of becoming an astrophysicist. On the very land he protected with his last breath, the following spring saw vast fields of beautiful sunflowers bloom, flowers he had longed to see but never got the chance to witness in his lifetime. Children ran through the sea of flowers, sketching their dreams and painting their futures. I think, seeing this scene, he must finally be ready to reunite with his mother. End.